Cohen, who is from Joy-Based Living. The exhibit is up in the corridor. After you go and you look at the black and whites, you're going to need a little reprieve. So there's some up there in the corridor, talking to everybody up there, and then there's some knots over here. I want these knots to be full and to be traveling, so please help me with that as well, okay? And here goes Debbie.
With God, all things are possible.
Amen.
When Michelle asked me to bring joy-based living to offset not just domestic violence, but freaking human trafficking, I was like, you want me to do what? And I don't even know the level of powerlessness that I feel about the topic of sex trafficking is too much for me. When I send money for causes, it's usually for the trees, not for sex trafficking. Do you know we all have our causes? This is very hard for me to be here. I don't know how to bridge that gap between sex trafficking and joy except to go to God. Because I believe that we're each born with so much radiance and so much light. You never see an infant and go, ugly baby. And when an infant comes in a room, everybody's energy goes to that little thing. And trauma, whether it's domestic violence or looking at someone like they're an idiot when they're not, squelches the human spirit. And what I know about the human spirit is that when we feel safe, joy rises. And when joy rises, it wants to be expressed. And when it's expressed, then it wants to be shared. And that's our natural inclination. And as an artist, and as surrounded with people who, in my life who are artists, all I want is just to get along. I want to get along in a way that I can talk about my spirituality, I can talk about my trauma, and I can talk about my best self. But you know what? Most people can't handle all three conversations. Most people can handle talking about my trauma and then getting out of the trauma, but that's like flinging a tennis racket up to here when it needs to go all the way. But then the people talk about joy, they don't want to talk about trauma. Are you with me? Give it to God. God will handle it. No. When I wrote my first book 20 years ago, it's called Reach Your Stars, and I spoke to thousands of children and teachers to help them tune into their radiance. And over the years, I noticed what would block people. And what blocks people is not having that one person who looks at you and goes, I see what's in you, let it out. And I don't care how old you are. So whether you're a teacher, or you're a parent, or you're a child, you know what it's like to have somebody look at you and go, I see what's in you, let it out.
Come on.
Come on. There's magic in you. There's radiance in you. And when I see people, that's all I see. People who are traumatized, traumatize others. Or they perpetuate trauma without meaning to. So at Joy-Based Living, we stand for joy, we stand for trauma awareness, and we stand for letting out your radiance in full. And if you're looking for support in doing any of that, that's what our art's about. I am now surrounded by people who look at me with total belief, that I look at them in total belief, so that when Michelle said to me, would you please come and have an exhibit for Joy-Based Living, I didn't know what that was going to look like, but when you have a friendship that's based on that kind of foundation, you just say yes. So I would like you to think about right now somebody in your life that you know that there's magic in them, and if somebody would just say yes to them, the flame would grow a little brighter. And so, Michelle, you are a fire starter.
Yes.
And I am honored that we are are bringing light together, because when light comes together, it multiplies, and that is what I am doing here today. Thank every one of you. Please let your light out now. Thank you.